Ja, hi, der Jan hier von nStuff und wir sind heute wieder mal bei einem Pre-NAMM-Event und zwar bei Taylor, die heute schon einige ihrer Neuheiten gezeigt haben. Unter anderem die Gitarren der Academy-Serie, die recht preisgünstig sind und sich an Einsteiger richten, damit die gleich zu Beginn ein anständiges Instrument haben. Und ja, wie diese Gitarre klingt und was die Gedanken dahinter waren, das siehst du jetzt in dem folgenden Video.
We good there? Yep. All right, so I won't embarrass you by taking a show of hands or anything like that, but I'd venture a pretty strong guess that everybody here, in one way or another, got here because they liked music. You think about the work that you do. You write about music, you take pictures of people playing music, you play yourselves, you publish magazines devoted to this. Now, I think that even though music isn't maybe a biological necessity, it's vital. It's way too important to leave up to professionals. I think everybody needs to be playing music. Like I've heard from even just a couple of conversations this evening that everyone here, you talk to people who say, oh, I had lessons when I was a kid and I quit. I've never once heard somebody say, I took lessons and I quit and I'm so glad I did. I've never once heard somebody say that. The only thing that I hear is either my parents made me take lessons and I'm so glad they did, or I took lessons and I wish I'd never stopped. I think music is important. Okay? So one of the things that we wanted to do, something that we've been working on for a number of years, is comes out as a line of guitars, but it's an intent. It's an invitation to play music, is what these instruments are. So we've got these new models, we call them the Academy Series guitars. These are guitars that were designed specifically for somebody who might be first being introduced into the instrument. Think about the first guitar that you played, that experience was miserable. You know, the strings were this high off the fingerboard, it might have only had a couple of the strings, it might have been broken. It certainly wasn't an instrument worth caring for. And so a couple of years ago, I was thinking about this and went, if I had to design the perfect guitar for someone who had never held a guitar, what would that instrument be? It's something that needs to be physically easy to hold. It has to be physically easy to play. It has to sound good in the hands of a novice musician. It has to be durable. It has to be not too expensive. It can't be too precious. So we decided, now that we've been building guitars, doing a better job than we've ever done building guitars, let's take our ability and see if we could produce an instrument that gives a musician, whether they're a professional, a recreational musician, a complete novice, let's give them something that is the very best for their needs. Ultimately, as guitar makers, we want to build instruments that serve musicians well. So we have these guitars that are stripped down to their bare essentials. It's everything you need, a couple things you wish you had, and nothing that you don't need. So they're very simple instruments. There's very little decoration. There's no binding. There are no things like that. But instead, what we've put into the guitar are everything that's good about playing music, everything that's good about instrument building. These are built with the very personality and soul of the trees that they were made from. We put the very best of our guitar making ability into producing accurate necks that intonate well, that play easily. So these guitars that we call the Academy Series guitars, in some ways you could look at them as, yeah, it's a beginner's guitar. That's the way we thought of them originally. But in reality, these are guitars that are an open invitation for people to play music, whether or not one existed before. So we've got these guitars. Now, the way I think of them is it's three models. It's a guitar that you would play with your fingertips, a guitar that you would play with a pick, and a guitar with nylon strings. They're all good. They all make great sounds. They're wonderful instruments. Alongside of that, I thought, well, what else would go with that? Well, enter the GS Mini bass. We took the GS Mini, which is, at this point, I think Steve McMinn was the first one who described it to me as the people's guitar. It's like the instrument that goes wherever you want to go, that's small, it travels well, it's always game for anything. It's the guitar that you take with you. It's kind of your best friend guitar. Well, I thought a bass version would be really cool. And so for the last several years, we've been working on making a bass that could be a new kind of a bass instrument. It's little, it's way too small for a bass guitar. And yet, here it is, and it works, and it sounds good. It's a fresh voice for a professional bassist. It's the perfect bass for a guitar player. It's the perfect first instrument for a kid. It's easier to play than a guitar is even. A kid doesn't even need to make chords. You know, it could be that I'm just at an age where I'm watching our own kids get older and they're around guitars, around instruments all the time. And I'm thinking, I want music making to be part of people's lives. That's important to me. So these guitars, this GS Mini bass, that's the reason for these guitars' existence. We want people to be playing music.
So, das war's für heute von Taylor. Morgen geht dann die NAMM richtig los. Da werden wir auch wieder uns um die heißesten News kümmern, die es in diesem Jahr so gibt. Unter anderem mit Livestreams auf Facebook, die um 19 Uhr deutscher Zeit starten. Also schaut immer mal wieder vorbei, damit ihr nichts verpasst. Viel Spaß!